Homeowner Association Karen threatens Black family panics when Secret Service secures their home. Prepare yourself for a story that begins in the charming tree-lined suburbs of the United States, a place where neighbors share baking tips over white picket fences and meticulously tended gardens. However, beneath this picture-perfect exterior lies a tale so full of shocking mysteries, hidden agendas, and unexpected alliances that it will make you question everything you thought you knew about peaceful suburban life. In this riveting account, a seemingly ordinary homeowner association board member sets her sights on a Black family new to the neighborhood. Little does she realize, her actions will trigger a series of events so intense that even the Secret Service becomes involved. Before we dive in, if you're new here, do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. If you're excited about this story, let us know if you enjoyed the video. Press 1 if not, press O. Your feedback really motivates me to gather more inspiring and meaningful stories. Malik Peterson and his wife Danielle could hardly contain their excitement when they finally found a delightful home in the suburban town of Greenfield Heights. It had everything they wanted: spacious rooms, a sprawling backyard for their two lively children to play in, and a friendly atmosphere that seemed to emanate from the neatly lined streets. Every day they saw neighbors chatting, joggers passing by with cheerful waves, and kids riding bikes up and down the sidewalks. It felt like a world away from the hustle of city life, a chance for their family to establish new beginnings. On moving day, however, something felt a little off. The homeowner association president Margery was there on the curb, arms folded, wearing an impeccably ironed blouse and clutching a clipboard like it was a crucial extension of her person. At first Malik assumed she was just an overenthusiastic homeowner association official ready to welcome them. She cleared her throat and introduced herself with a painstakingly polite smile that did not reach her eyes. Danielle offered a warm handshake, and Margery's skin flinched in response, as though even physical contact was an inconvenience to her. Almost immediately, Margery launched into a detailed explanation of the homeowner association's strict policies, from mailbox placement to acceptable paint colors. The speed of her words was overwhelming, and her gaze flickered to the moving truck, as if expecting to see forbidden furniture or unauthorized plants. This made Danielle anxious. Were not the rules listed on the community's website? Why was Margery emphasizing them so intensely? And why, at this very moment, when the family was juggling boxes and wrangling excited children, suddenly, out of nowhere, the Petersons' real estate agent showed up to hand them the final paperwork? "You folks are going to adore it here," she said, but there was a note of unease in her voice as she glanced at Margery. The tension crackled silently, a harbinger of the dramatic events soon to come. Little did Malik and Danielle know the suburban tranquility of Greenfield Heights was about to unravel in ways they never anticipated. By the end of their first week, the Petersons sensed an undercurrent of discomfort creeping into their supposed dream neighborhood. Mail arrived days late, packages sometimes disappeared from their doorstep, and strange glances followed them when they walked their dog. Though some neighbors were friendly, like the elderly couple next door who brought homemade cookies, others pretended the Petersons did not exist. Despite Danielle's attempts to invite people over for coffee, no one ever seemed available. One afternoon, as Danielle strolled through the neighborhood's pedestrian-friendly sidewalks, she overheard hushed voices discussing an unusual family that moved in. "Must be a rental," one voice quipped. Another responded, "I sure hope the homeowner association enforces rules on them." Heart pounding, Danielle hurried home, wrestling with concern for her children's well-being and safety. She knew racial undercurrents could run deep, but she had hoped Greenfield Heights would be different. That evening, Margery knocked on the door with a presence that screamed authority. "We have received noise complaints," he announced in a firm tone. Malik was taken aback. They had not even hosted a gathering yet, unless the muffled laughter of their two kids playing in the backyard counted before anyone could protest. Margery listed the alleged violations: excessive yard decorations, bicycles stored improperly by the front porch, and an unapproved color change in the window curtains. The final claim stunned them. "The curtains?" Danielle repeated, shocked. "They just the ones we brought from our old house." Margery's expression turned triumphant, as though she were proud to have discovered such a serious infraction in Greenfield Heights. She insisted all visible home decor must conform to the aesthetic guidelines in the Homeowner Association manual. With that, she swept out the door, leaving the family with a swirl of conflicting emotions: anger, confusion, and a growing dread. This was no simple misunderstanding. Something larger loomed on the horizon, and the Petersons had no idea how severe it would become. Eager to clear their mind, Malik and Danielle decided to have a quick outing the following weekend. They dropped off their children at a friend's house and slipped into the cozy, bustling atmosphere of a local Starbucks. It was a tiny escape, just enough time to enjoy a pumpkin spice latte and reflect on how surreal their homeowner association challenges had become. The plan was to strategize and figure out the best way forward. Instead, fate had something else in store for them. While standing in line, a tall man in a charcoal gray suit with an American flag pin on his lapel stood behind them. He seemed friendly enough. He struck up casual conversation about the fluctuations in the housing market, and then politely asked if they were new to town. Malik and Danielle exchanged a quick glance. They were wary of oversharing after their experiences with Margery, but something about his manner radiated genuine warmth when they mentioned Greenfield Heights. His eyes momentarily flickered with awareness. "I am Simon Mackenzie," he said with a reassuring smile. "I work in the Department of Homeland Security, assigned here for a special project." Danielle felt a shock. Homeland Security? That was not your typical suburban job. At that moment, a barista called Simon's name for his order, and he excused himself with a polite nod, promising to chat with them more if they stuck around. Just then Margery's voice cut through the noise of the coffee shop. She was seated at a corner table, her eyes fixed on the Peterson. Her presence felt invasive, as though she was studying them even off homeowner association duty. Danielle's stomach sank. Had Margery followed them here on purpose? The lines between normal suburban life and creeping intimidation began to blur. A curious unease gnawed at her, and for the first time she wondered if they were truly safe in Greenfield Heights. Moments after Malik and Danielle settled into a table at Starbucks, Simon Mackenzie returned politely, asking if he could join them. He took a seat, and within minutes, the conversation flowed as though they were long-lost friends. He spoke of his reason for being stationed in their county. "There has been a concerning pattern of threats to government officials' families in quiet suburbs," he said seriously. "So I am here on an investigatory detail." The admission sent a chill down Danielle's spine across the room. Margery pretended to scroll through her phone, but her eyes flicked constantly to the trio. At one point, she stood and made a swift exit, leaving half her latte unfinished. Malik and Danielle felt relief as she departed. Maybe now they could speak freely. Simon asked a few questions about their adjustment to the neighborhood. The couple hesitated, but ultimately decided that if anyone could help them, it might be this reserved federal employee with cautious detail. They recounted the strange occurrences, the hostile stares, the trivial homeowner association infractions, and Margery's outright hostility. Simon listened intently, occasionally glancing around to make sure no one else was eavesdropping. Then came the twist that neither Malik nor Danielle expected. Simon gently explained that certain extremist groups had started to penetrate positions of local power like small-town city councils, school boards, even homeowner association boards, and that it was possible they were targeting the couple for more than just insignificant reasons. The information hung in the air like a dark cloud, crackling with unease. Before parting ways, Simon left them his business card, urging them to call if anything else strange happened. What began as a simple coffee run suddenly felt like a turning point. The Petersons realized they had stumbled into a larger conflict, one that had been hidden behind the cheerful facades of suburban life, and it was about to escalate in ways they could not imagine. That night, well past the children's bedtime, a loud knock shattered the silence. Malik rushed to the door to see who could be visiting at such an hour. Peering through the peephole, he spotted a shadowy figure before it turned away and bolted into the darkness. Heart pounding, he swung the door open to find no one there, just a small envelope on the porch floor. Danielle joined him, her eyes wide with concern. The envelope was unmarked, but felt strangely weighty. They hurried inside, locking the door behind them. Malik tore it open to reveal a single photograph, an image of their house from across the street, time-stamped just hours earlier. Scribbled on the back was a cryptic message: "We are watching." Panic surged through Danielle. Who had taken this picture? Why would anyone send such a threatening note? And how did they manage to vanish so quickly after knocking? A deluge of questions swirled, each more disturbing than the last. Malik immediately thought of calling the police, but a nagging voice in his head warned him that local authorities might be tied to certain local power structures. Instead, they dialed the number on Simon Mackenzie's car. Simon answered on the second ring. His voice, calm yet firm, told them to stay inside and not touch the envelope further. "I will be there as soon as I can," he said, hanging up just as the overhead light in the living room began to flicker eerily. A lump of dread formed in Danielle's stomach. The fight for their family safety was no longer a set of petty homeowner association confrontations. It was rapidly evolving into a high-stakes battle with unknown enemies. When Simon arrived in his official black SUV, he was accompanied by two other individuals in suits, who immediately began examining the porch, the mailbox, and nearby cars. They took photos, collected the envelope in a clear evidence bag, and asked the Petersons to recount every detail of the evening. Meanwhile, Simon remained alert, scanning the street for anything out of place. The Peterson children, awakened by the commotion, peered from the top of the stairs, frightened but also curious. Danielle whispered reassurances, while Malik tried to remain calm. The stark contrast between the warm family living room and these officials meticulously gathering evidence was unsettling. It was as if their house had been transformed into a crime scene overnight. When the investigators finished, they conferred briefly with Simon. One of them, a woman with sharp eyes, gestured to the Petersons. "We will stay in the area tonight," she said quietly. "We believe this may not be an isolated case." Before she left, she mentioned that they had tracked an uptick in hate crimes linked to extremist beliefs in the region and in places like homeowner associations. After the teams left, Simon stayed behind for a few moments. He advised the Petersons to consider installing additional security measures: cameras, motion sensor, lights, maybe even an alarm system. As he was about to go, he hesitated. "Just be careful around the homeowner association," he warned. "Sometimes danger is closer than we realize." With that cryptic hint, he departed into the night, leaving Malik and Danielle with hearts pounding. The idea that Margery might be involved seemed simultaneously paranoid and disturbingly realistic. Their once idyllic suburb was now filled with uncertainty, and the net of danger was tightening closer each day. A week later, a homeowner association community meeting was scheduled. Although still shaken by the photo incident, the Petersons decided to attend if they were going to confront their tormentors. They reasoned, doing so publicly might force the aggressors to think twice. But from the moment they arrived at the local elementary school's multi-purpose hall where the meeting was held, they felt an undercurrent of unease. Margery Billings, perched at the front with her meticulously styled hair and endless supply of official documents, eyed them from her seat. As the meeting started, small talk quickly gave way to agenda items, landscaping guidelines, trash pickup schedules, mundane topics that made the adrenaline coursing through Malik's veins feel unnecessary. Finally, the spotlight shifted to alleged community issues. Margery cleared her throat. "We have had complaints of suspicious activities in the neighborhood," she began, her eyes locking on Malik and Danielle. "Strange cars parked on the street, unfamiliar faces walking around after dark. We must protect our community values." The tension was palpable. No one else uttered a word. Suddenly, an older gentleman in the back, Mr. Newman, stood up. "I, for one, have noticed some unsettling changes since certain new residents arrived," he said, voice dripping with suggestion. Danielle felt fury spike in her, but before she could respond, a middle-aged woman rose to her feet. "I heard someone's been taking photos of homes at night," she announced, shooting an accusatory glance toward the Petersons. Malik felt his jaw tighten. In an impulsive burst of bravery, Danielle grabbed the microphone. "We received a threatening photo," she declared, her voice trembling only slightly. "Someone took a picture of our home, wrote a threatening message, and left it on our doorstep in the middle of the night. No one should have to deal with that." She paused, scanning the crowd, hoping to see any glimmer of sympathy. Instead, people whispered and shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Then came the unexpected. From behind the double doors at the rear of the hall, Simon Mackenzie walked in, accompanied by two plainclothes individuals. In a calm, authoritative voice that reverberated through the stunned gathering, he confirmed that a federal investigation was underway regarding intimidation in the neighborhood. Murmurs rippled across the crowd, and for just a second, Margery's usual smug composure flickered as Simon's gaze fell upon her. An almost imperceptible fear flitted across her face, a warning to the reckoning that lay ahead. After the dramatic end to the community meeting, everyone funneled out of the school hall. In a heavy silence, Margery scurried away, clutching her binder tight against her chest, surrounded by a few loyal allies whispering in concerned tones. Malik and Danielle found themselves momentarily alone with Simon and his associates. Simon quietly reassured them that the investigation went beyond mere harassment and might implicate multiple individuals. In the neighborhood, days passed with an uneasy stillness. There were no more late-night knocks or threatening messages. Even the sideways glances from certain neighbors seemed to diminish, as though some invisible presence was keeping watch. Yet, the Petersons sensed a storm brewing beneath the surface. One evening, Danielle received an unexpected email from an anonymous sender. The message contained a link to a password-protected folder labeled Homeowner Association Secrets. Curiosity overrode fear, and Danielle clicked. A trove of documents appeared on the screen: financial statements, meeting minutes, email conversations among Homeowner Association board members. Some files hinted at questionable money transfers and sudden changes in community guidelines that disproportionately punished certain residents. Most chilling were references to Operation Cleansweep, accompanied by lists of homeowner names, including the Petersons singled out for coercion or forced compliance. Alarmed, Malik decided to forward the link to Simon within an hour. Simon called, voice tight with urgency. "Do not share this with anyone else. We have suspected corruption in the Homeowner Association for some time, but this is far bigger," he said before hanging up. Simon mentioned that certain patterns in the documents pointed to extremist funding. The Petersons' head spun. It was now undeniably clear that Margery and her allies were no ordinary homeowners. The stakes had just escalated to a level neither Malik nor Danielle had ever expected. With tensions escalating, Malik and Danielle tried to maintain a semblance of stability for their children. They organized a Saturday family outing to Walt Disney World in Orlando, one of those rare magical trips they had saved for. The plan was to temporarily forget Greenfield Heights and immerse themselves in a day of fun and wonder, even though they had to drive several hours to get there. The kids were thrilled, and for a brief moment, so were their parents. Yet the shadow of their troubles lingered. Halfway through the day, as the family rode the teacups in Fantasyland, Danielle felt an eerie awareness of being watched. She dismissed it initially. Theme parks are crowded, after all. But the unease persisted. While exiting the park that evening, Malik spotted a familiar figure in the distance. It looked like one of the men who often accompanied Margery, a tall individual with a distinctive scar near his left eyebrow. The man appeared to be trailing, maintaining a careful distance, fearing confrontation. They tried to lose him in the throng of tourists. For a moment it seemed they had succeeded, but as they approached the parking lot, the same figure emerged near their car, this time openly watching them. Malik locked eyes with him. For a tense second the kids clung to Danielle, sensing the adult stress. Suddenly, from across the lot, a plain black SUV pulled into view, headlights momentarily glaring. Out stepped an unexpected supporter, one of Simon's colleagues. The man with the scar tensed swiftly, slipping into a nearby crowd and disappearing into The swirl of departing families. Simon's colleague beckoned Malik and Danielle over, quietly offering to escort them to their car. What was supposed to be a joyful family adventure had transformed into a dramatic encounter with the clandestine forces. Entwined in the Petersons' daily lives, proof that even a place as enchanting as Disney World was not beyond the reach of this dark web. When the Petersons finally returned home, the day's unnerving events weighed heavily on them. They tucked their children into bed, thankful they were safe for now. But both parents remained on high alert. Around midnight, Danielle awoke to a strange vibration outside their bedroom window. She nudged Malik, who groggily peered out into the dark, spotting faint figures moving between houses. Determined not to cower, Malik grabbed his cell phone and quietly slipped out the back door. He noticed a suspicious figure kneeling near the corner of his property, fiddling with something in the ground. Summoning courage, Malik snapped a photo with his phone's camera. A bright flash illuminated the trespasser, who recoiled in shock. Before the figure could dart off, Malik's phone light briefly revealed a face, someone he recognized from the homeowner association's security subcommittee. An explosion of adrenaline propelled Malik forward, but the trespasser was too quick. Tires screeched as a getaway car peeled off, leaving behind a whiff of burning rubber and a half-buried device in the soil. Heart hammering, Malik approached the object, a small black box with wires protruding. Alarmed, he backed away and dialed Simon's number. Within minutes, a team arrived, local law enforcement accompanied by federal agents. They carefully extracted the device GPS tracker. An officer murmured, shaking his head, "They wanted to monitor your every move." Shock rippled through Malik and Danielle. This was no ordinary case of neighborhood harassment. Forces within the homeowner association were actively employing surveillance tactics, and the Petersons were firmly in their sights. After the discovery of the GPS tracker, the homeowner association escalations could no longer be dismissed as minor harassment. Simon arranged a quiet meeting at a local park away from prying ears to discuss the situation with the Petersons. Soft sunlight filtered through tall oak trees as they huddled on a bench near the duck pond. It was an idyllic setting that contrasted starkly with the serious topic at hand. Simon explained that certain high-ranking members of the homeowner association appeared tied to a loose network of extremist groups, and the harassment of the Peterson family had a dual purpose: to drive them out of the neighborhood and to ensure any federal presence in Greenfield Heights remained unopposed. When Malik questioned why they were targeted specifically, Simon hesitated. Then in a low voice, he revealed that Danielle's father, a retired Army colonel, was once involved in a critical operation that disrupted a domestic hate group. This was possibly an act of retaliation passed down through a complicated web of extremists. The revelations landed like a punch to the gut. It was not just about shady homeowner association policies or local discrimination. It was about a far-reaching vendetta. As ducks quacked softly near the pond's edge, the Petersons felt the weight of a past they had never fully known. Simon assured them increased security measures were being put in place. He also hinted that the next step might involve unmasking Margery and her followers in a public and definitive way. The only question was, would the Petersons be willing to help? Late the next evening, Danielle and Malik sat at their kitchen table discussing Simon's proposal. An undercover operation was in the works to expose the homeowner association's extremist TI's. Agents were poised to intercept communications, track financial streams, and monitor those implicated. However, Simon believed that a dramatic push from within the community might be needed to spark the final collapse of this dangerous group. In essence, he wanted the Petersons to go about their day, attend homeowner association events and stir curiosity, while a hidden team recorded every incriminating word. The proposition made Danielle's heart race. Not only would this put them in the line of risk, but it would also force them to interact closely with Margery and the homeowner association board. Still, she recognized that continuing to live in fear was not an option. If they did not fight back, who would protect their children and future neighbors from the same danger? Finally, after a sleepless night, they agreed to cooperate. Malik contacted Simon, who promised around-the-clock federal surveillance. Over the following days, small but telling hints emerged that the net was tightening around the homeowner association conspirators. Suspicious vehicles were spotted circling Margery's home, and known extremist figures were reported entering the neighborhood late at night. On a Monday afternoon, Danielle attended a landscaping guidelines session, a dull event that normally drew just a handful of neighbors. Yet that day, the homeowner association conference room was uncharacteristically crowded. Margery strode about, pointing to charts and brandishing her beloved clipboard. Danielle feigned polite interest even as her insides turned. Then came a moment that made her stomach tighten. Margery smirked and whispered to one of her associates, "Won't be long now. We have enough evidence to push them out for good. They will regret moving here." Danielle fought to keep her face neutral, all while recording the conversation. With the hidden device provided by Simon's team, the plan was in motion, and there was no turning back. The homeowner association announced a community barbecue event set for the following Saturday at Greenfield Heights Central Park area. Normally, this might have been a pleasant way to mingle with neighbors. Now, it took on the air of a high-stakes showdown. Word spread that nearly every resident would attend, including those who rarely participated in neighborhood events. Malik and Danielle knew Margery was orchestrating something significant. Meanwhile, federal agents covertly prepared to be on site. The day arrived bright and sweltering. People milled about under the shade of large oak trees, flipping burgers, sipping sweet tea, and exchanging polite greetings. Danielle noticed that several unfamiliar faces lingered near the grills, all sporting identical hats with a subtle symbol. Something about them screamed outsiders, yet they tried to blend in. Possibly more members of the extremist organization. Margery, wearing an over-the-top floral dress, took center stage. She made a grand show of welcoming everyone. Then, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, she summoned the Petersons to the front. "We need to address certain community violations announced, including unauthorized lawn decorations and repeated after-hours disturbances." The crowd fell silent, tension thick enough to cut with a blade. Malik's palms began to sweat as he approached. Danielle trembled inwardly, but managed to keep her expression steady. Just as Margery was about to read off a bizarre laundry list of alleged transgressions, a familiar voice rang out from the periphery. "Hold on, Miss Billings." It was Simon, accompanied by a team of agents. Cameras were capturing every reaction. Some of Margery's allies tried to slip away, but the perimeter was discreetly sealed by law enforcement. In that electrifying moment, the stage was set for a judgment no one would soon forget. A hush fell over the barbecue as agents wearing earpieces and serious faces began quietly moving through the crowd. The final dramatic layer of the operation was revealed when two black SUVs rolled up and a small contingent of Secret Service agents emerged. Whispers erupted among the neighbors. "Secret Service? What on earth is happening?" Even from a distance, one could see the color drain from Margery's face. Simon stepped forward, pulling out a file thick with proof. "We have been investigating multiple members of this homeowner association for harassment and extremist TIs," he announced. He then listed off a series of charges: threatening letters, illegal surveillance, financial fraud for extremist activities, conspiracy to violate civil rights. Each accusation landed like a shockwave, and the crowd watched in stunned silence. Margery attempted to speak, but her words tumbled out in a jumbled panic. "This is ridiculous. Outrageous. I have done nothing wrong." But the presence of Secret Service agents was overwhelming. Several men who had lingered suspiciously near the grill were quickly apprehended, their hats yanked off to reveal the same extremist symbol from the leaked documents. Danielle had seen officers handcuff them on the spot. The Peterson family watched, hearts pounding with an odd mix of relief and lingering anxiety. At last, law enforcement recognized their plight as part of a broader scheme of intimidation aimed at driving certain communities out of desirable neighborhoods. When two agents escorted Margery away, her facade of authority crumbled. She spat protests and wild accusations, even accusing Malik and Danielle of staging a plot. No one believed her. A hush of awe and triumph washed over the onlookers. The threat had been exposed, and this so-called Karen had nowhere left to run. The barbecue ended in disarray, with law enforcement vehicles lining the street. Neighbors who once scoffed at the Peterson's complaint stared in astonishment, mouths open, as Margery and her cohorts were taken into custody. Conversations erupted among the remaining residents, each competing theory more outlandish than the last, but the overarching sentiment was one of shock, and for some remorse. Simon ushered Malik and Danielle to a safe corner of the park where he explained the depth of the operation. "This did not just start with you," he said. "Margery and her allies have systematically targeted families across multiple homeowner association communities, pushing them out through a combination of threats, intimidation, and fabricated violations." He recounted how extremist organizations funded these local enforcers to shift demographic and political control in certain suburban regions. The Petersons felt a wave of horror, realizing they were one piece in a nationwide puzzle of hate-fueled schemes. However, the day also held a powerful moment of solidarity. Several neighbors approached the couple, apologizing for not having believed them sooner. One woman, eyes brimming with tears, admitted she had received odd warnings. After showing kindness to the Petersons, others offered assistance and lamented their silence. Danielle, still overwhelmed, accepted their apologies with genuine gratitude. The storm was not fully over, but a significant blow had been dealt to the orchestrators of the family's suffering. In that moment, the Petersons realized their stand had not been in vain. Their courage in the face of adversity had opened eyes, exposed corruption, and reminded the neighborhood, perhaps the entire country, that standing up to hate is both difficult and necessary. In the weeks that followed, news outlets took hold of the dramatic story, broadcasting segments on local and national networks. A flurry of headlines read: Homeowner Association corruption exposed, suburban extremism taken down, and Secret Service operation in Greenfield Heights. The Peterson family found themselves at the center of a tale that resonated far beyond their quiet streets. Margery Billings was indicted on multiple charges related to hate crimes and conspiracy, and she was not the only one. Several homeowner association board members were also implicated, and depositions revealed a sprawling network of ties to extremist resources. Public outrage soared, and the trial became a national talking point. In a cruel twist of justice, many of Margery's former allies publicly disowned her, refusing to go down with the sinking ship. She was left isolated, facing the legal repercussions of her malicious agenda. Meanwhile, Greenfield Heights underwent a remarkable change. The rest of the homeowner association was dissolved and reconstructed under new leadership, a coalition of open-minded residents committed to fairness and community values. Neighbors, who had once been cold or indifferent to the Petersons, took steps toward genuine friendship. Children played in the streets without fear, and the new board introduced inclusive community events designed to foster unity rather than division. Malik and Danielle, though still healing from their ordeal, found comfort in a neighborhood renewed by empathy. Their children laughed freely, forging friendships with kids whose parents now understood the importance of kindness and awareness. The Peterson story, though born of tension and threat, had galvanized positive progress. In time, Greenfield Heights promised to become the safe haven they had once hoped it would be, a place where families of all backgrounds could stand together in the face of challenges, stronger and wiser than ever before. In the aftermath of Margery's downfall, Greenfield Heights rose from the ashes of conspiracy and hate, finally embracing the spirit of true belonging. Malik and Danielle's bravery, the path for others to stand against injustice, and the dedication of federal agents like Simon Mackenzie proved that truth can prevail even when darkness creeps into the most unsuspecting places of suburban life. As the Petersons settled into a future free from fear, they carried the hard-earned knowledge that standing up to wrongdoing is never simple, but always worth it. If you found this story powerful, please help us spread its lesson. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more tales that inspire strength and determination.